Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of our shooting program, and welcome to today's show. We have some interesting things we're going to show you today. We're going to look at some handguns I think you're going to enjoy seeing. The judge has some great information he's going to give us. And if we have time, we're going to go back to a feature or two of the SHOT Show. Well, we had someone call a few days ago and ask about how do sights work on a gun. Do they work sideways or upside down or whatever? Well, let's take a little experiment out here at 100 yards on our steel plate with our Smith & Wesson Classic Hunter here. And let's see what happens, and let's let another shooting show begin. Well, let's turn the gun literally upside down and see what happens. Friends, we're going to look at a very neat gun today. This is one that belongs to the judge. It's a high standard Supermatic tournament model. And he got this from the DCM. That's the Director of Civilian Marksmanship. And I'll tell you what, that's one organization in government that does need some support, because the anti-gun people have literally tried to destroy the office, the Director of Civilian Marksmanship. So this is a gun that was an original high standard, modified somewhat by armorers in the U.S. military, and I don't know who. It just says U.S. on it. And this is one of those things, the judge told me that you weren't exactly sure. You'd call and request something, and if they had one, they'd send it to you, but they wouldn't really advertise what they had. So, in fact, if we think about it, we'll ask him about that later today. But these were very, very fine 22 long rifles. This gun is fitted with a target-type grip, and the magazines for these guns actually held, this one holds 11 shells, which, and it has worked very reliably. This gun does not have the heavy barrel, but it does have a really nice Allen type trigger stop on it, and has a very nice trigger. Whoever did the work on this gun was part of the military armorers group there. They really did a nice job. But these are superior shooters. Now, it's like any other 22 or semi-automatic 22 especially. You may have to hunt around and go through several different types of ammunition before you find something the gun really does like. But the capability is just excellent. This was such a neat design, and I'm glad to see there are a couple of companies now making high standard copies or reproductions. In fact, there's a Mitchell, which makes a high standard type gun. I think they're calling it the Mitchell High Standard. And then there's another group that is also making a high standard. I think they're High Standard Incorporated. I stand to be corrected on that, but they're very nice people. One of the former presidents of Colt Firearms is in charge, I believe, of the other high standard, the new high standard company. But the new guns that I've seen look real good, the new high standards. I don't know how they shoot because I hadn't shot one yet. But these old timers were just terrific, I tell you. You can see, of course, the way the guns were made. Of course, you pull the slide all the way to the rear and let it go to load itself. I'll push. It has a safety in the place of 1911. We'll take a closer look in just a minute. But these guns were primarily designed, and of course I'm putting my hearing protection a little bit better, to be shot one-handed. And I've never competed in NRA bullseye type shooting. What they would typically do is have one hand in the pocket, and they'd take a stance like so, and their safety's off, and they would shoot like so. And we had 5 rounds in the gun, see it's locked back. So that's sort of how this gun was designed to go. I know it does shoot really well. In fact, let's take a closer look and we'll just see how it works. Now, friends, of course, this gun has seen quite a bit of use, and I don't know just what the original finish was. It may have been a polished blue, and it's still a nice finish now. But these were such excellent guns, and you do still see them, some of the originals, in target matches in different places around the country. I tell you, it is such a nice and pretty day out here today. We get a little wind noise, bear with us. Anyway, you have excellent adjustable sights. Of course, you have this raised Partridge type front sight with a sharp edge here. Really just a very fine and fun gun. The target type grip, it has a swell here at the bottom. Now, the magazines were very well thought out. Like I said, this one holds 11, but I don't know if that was standard or not, but you have a little button, you off and push down. It makes magazine loading much easier. Anyway, let's take a shot or two. We've loaded some. And on this gun, you got to be sure the magazine is pressed all the way in place because the grip comes down past the frame here somewhat. And remember, friends, to load any semi-automatic, pull that slide all the way to the back and let it go. That's very important. So this is the safety right here. We'll push it on. It's similar to a 1911. And this is the slide release over here. Well, let's go ahead and push our safety off. And let's see if we can find that front sight. Remember, the front sight has to be clear and shoot that plate. Absolutely. Well, that wasn't hard. Let's shoot another one. And we'll apply our safety. Just for fun, since we're here. Like we're talking about the sights working upside down. Let's see what it looks like this way. Just for fun, since we're here. Now then, friends, since we've got the gun emptied, it's a little bit of difficulty to take the magazine out, so you have to press the release here and sort of dig it out with your fingernail here, and it will eventually come out. Of course, you can also press it down from the top like so. Let's take the magazine out. One of the neat things about the way these guns were made was this button right here literally is used for takedown. Now, friends, to take these guns down, all you had to do was you pushed on this button here, and I already loosened it. And see, you just take the barrel off for ease of cleaning, and you can look down through there and see the rifling and all in place. So this was such a neat system, and I'm glad to see them back in production on these guns. And of course, put it back together. All you do is just push the button and bring it back in place. When the button's out, the barrel is securely locked back in place. And let the slide down, just push this button here, let it down. Friends, I'll tell you what, it's always a pleasure to come out and shoot one of these old high standard guns. And of course, you couldn't pry this one away from the judge. He has several of these guns, and they're just so neat. They're very collectible, but they're also so much fun to shoot. This would be an excellent gun with a little different magazine change for an IPSC type of 22 long rifle competition. And that's something I think needs a little work. We need to consider that because one, the more guns that we can shoot with 22s, the less money we spend on ammunition, and the more we can afford to shoot, especially those of us that are not into reloading. But I tell you, this is the high standard Supermatic tournament model. And also, if your semi-automatic jams on the 22, it'll teach you to use your bigger semi-automatic because, yes, friends, they all jam. Every last one of them. All right, take this. A lot of fun. Friends, another gun, and please bear with our wind. It is an absolutely beautiful day. It's January here in northwest Louisiana, and we do have a few days. It's about 60 degrees out here and partly cloudy. Now, 2 or 3 days ago, it was 12 degrees, and that's one thing about Louisiana weather that you've heard me say before. If you don't like the weather you got in Louisiana, just wait 30 minutes and you'll get something else. But this is such a nice day. We're having a lot of fun being out here and shooting. Friends, this is a Charter Arms Bulldog in stainless steel. And these guns, from my knowledge, date back to the 70s. And they were really a unique concept then because Charter came along with some ideas that no one had really used. In certain parts of their guns, they would use aluminum. They had a very strong frame design. And they were at one time a very popular small 38 caliber revolver. They made several things. They made a little 22 semi-automatic rifle. They expanded their line of revolvers up to include the 44 Special. They also had some 357 Magnums. Today, the Charter Company, as I believe Charco, they are a different organization. It may be some of the same people involved. I don't know. I do know they have the similar design gun. This is not a new gun. This was loaned to us by our good friends at Britain's. And what we saw on the Charter guns that were in stainless steel, they seemed to have a little bit higher quality of workmanship than did the others. Now, the purpose, a lot of people saw in the Charter, it was an inexpensive, small gun that was generally reliable. The ones that I tried over the years seemed to be pretty good, They were not finished to the same level as, say, a Smith & Wesson or a Colt or a Ruger, but they didn't cost nearly that much either. So they were a good bargain for what they cost. Like I said, the guns that I have shot over the years were all pretty much functional. There are some things that I felt like could be improved on, but so what? I'm not the gun maker. But anyway, so much for that. This one is the 44 Special in stainless steel with a 3-inch barrel. It has the slim barrel. And this gun is light, and one of the advantages was that it would make an excellent backup gun, a good second gun to carry, a good trail gun for someone who didn't want to walk around with a lot of weight of a larger handgun, yet it still carried the large bullet. The 44 Special typically is not a very intense cartridge, not in its factory loading, but it still hits with some authority. It's nowhere near as intense, say, as a .357 Magnum, but it does have quite a bit of thump. Where muzzle energy is concerned, you've got a 240 grain bullet in the standard factory loading, running out of this gun a little over 700 feet per second. And no, it doesn't have huge energy figures, a little less than 300 pounds actually, but it's still, a lot of people would feel like this was a more powerful cartridge, say, than your standard 38 Special in a small gun like this. These guns were light. I would not push hand loads real high with any of the Charter type or any of the small 5-shot 44 Special guns. However, the carbine loading, which is a 180 grain bullet from this gun at around 900 feet per second, now that puts it in a little different category, and I'd feel comfortable about carrying those loads in this gun. Don't know if I'd shoot the plus P loads or the slightly harder loads. One, it's not much fun. I think you'll see why in just a moment. We have the 240 grain factory loads here, and just watch my hands as our lightweight Charter Bulldog. Just watch the recoil in my hands today. Whew, yes. Trust me, you know it went off. It's going to be a little bit much for some of the ladies out there in this particular lightweight gun. Let's see it again. Yeah, it gives you a pretty good little thump. But like I said, it does hit with, we nailed the board out there pretty good too. It does hit with some authority. Let's take a closer look. You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
If you are a boater or a birder, if you ever carry a camera, Bi-Tote is for you. It is the most comfortable binocular and camera carrier on the market today. And its all-elastic quick change feature makes it possible to switch from one piece of equipment to another without missing a beat. If you think that carrying binoculars or cameras is a pain in the neck, try Bi-Tote. For the first time, your equipment will feel almost weightless, and you'll be free of that annoying swinging and bouncing which is hard on your body as well as the equipment, especially when you're negotiating rough terrain or on a pitching boat. One hand for you, one hand for the boat, and Bi-Tote for your binoculars or camera. They'll be ready for you instantly, held firmly in position. They're always there, not buried in a locker or other out-of-the-way place. And the Bi-Tote is totally adjustable for a custom fit. All necessary adapters and complete instructions are included with your Bi-Tote. How did you ever get along without it?
Now, friends, we can see here we do have the slimmer type barrel, large hole there for a small gun such as this. See, it's not much bigger. Actually, it fits just about in the size of my hand, my size large hand. But looking here, here's how it worked. Like a Smith & Wesson, you push the latch forward and the cylinder comes out. If you couldn't do that, or for some reason you lost this piece, you can pull the end of the latch and it'll still come out on this model without the shroud. Now, Charter had some models that literally had a shroud glued in place, very strong glue of some kind over this with sights on it, but that's another model. They had this gun and some of their others were like that. But really, I think service on these guns was pretty good. You can see that finish on this stainless model looks pretty nice. It has a system, the cylinder turns clockwise like a Colt instead of a Smith & Wesson and Ruger, which will go counterclockwise. They used to advertise that they had a beryllium copper firing pin that they said it was unbreakable, and I don't know, I never did know of anyone that broke one, but it does have a pretty nice action. Actually, the double action is pretty smooth, had a pretty good single action on, not a very heavy trigger. There's one thing on these Charter guns that you have to watch out for if you have one of these guns, and certainly if you do, you're not underarmed. I mean, they were serviceable. But see these pins right here? There's one right here in front of my thumbnail and another one right here. These are literally just stuck in place, and you have to be careful if you shoot these guns a lot or leave them in a vehicle. They got a lot of vibrations. Sometimes they'll come out and render the gun inoperable. So you might put a little drop of Loctite on the surface here or just around one of these pins to keep them in place. And I don't know why they wanted to make them like that. I don't know why, but that's something to kind of watch out for on these. Also, this little screw here will sometimes loosen. And just kind of keep a watch on this. If you shoot the gun a good bit, just take a regular old screwdriver and keep a fair amount of tension on it. Well, anyway, let's put a couple of shells in our gun here, and we just have factory standard pressures. Like I said, I wouldn't be afraid to carry Corbon loads because I think the cylinders on these guns, the frame and all was pretty strong. It had a one-piece type frame. It does not have a side plate, and it does have pretty good strength. And let's see how close these sights are with factory loads. I really don't know. Let's just try it and see what will happen here at our target out here at about 20 yards or so from where we are now. And let's see what it looks like. Put that front sight right at the base of the target. Hey, pretty good, we hit it. Like I said, we're blessed with some wind out here today, but it's not a cold wind. It's kind of nice, actually. Trees and all kind of pretty blowing around. Our staff has been moaning and groaning somewhat about the wind. But anyway, we don't pay attention to a little moaning and groaning from our fine association, our fine employees, Catherine in particular. I can thank you very much. Okay, moving right along. The Charter Orange Bulldog was really a good concept. I understand that some of the Sky Marshals carried some of these guns. I read this somewhere in the beginning, back when there used to be Sky Marshals, and the reason they chose the 44 Special was because not a lot of experimentation in cartridge types had been tried back in the 70s or so, and honestly, these guns may have come along before then. They might date as far back as the 60s. I really don't know. I know that you first began to see them in the 70s, but the reason the Sky Marshals supposedly carried these guns, but the 44 Special didn't have enough penetration to punch a large hole in the skin of an aircraft, and if they had to shoot a hijacker or if an airplane was being hijacked, this was a cartridge that was not going to do a lot of damage to the aircraft itself. That was their thinking. Don't know. Anyway, these are neat guns. They certainly, I don't know what the manufacturer is doing as we speak as of today. I don't know the availability. I know this one is available to our good friends in Shreveport, Britain, and the gun obviously hasn't been shot a lot. It's still tight, and hey, if you want a gun that's small but with more power, say, than a standard 38 Special, well, the 44 Special and something like a Bulldog could be a good choice. A little more recoil. You know, Catherine, this Smith & Wesson 41 Magnum, this is on the end frame, and this is really not a real heavy gun for that cartridge, you know, because it's lean, but it's strong. And that's like me. I want to be leaner and stronger.
So how is the Health Club doing?
Health Club's doing great. Friends, as I cannot I'm going to keep on telling you about it because, one, we want to help those of you out there who want to improve your health, if you want to improve your endurance, if you want to feel better when you wake up in the mornings, if you want to feel better when you go to bed at night, if you want to feel better at 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon when a lot of us get that afternoon lag, well, our Health Club products literally do away with that. This is absolutely, and I've said it before, one of the great discoveries of my adult life because it's in fact made me into somebody else, and I like it. I like having enough strength and endurance. You know, they told me when I first began to use these products, they said, Johnny, you're going to feel 10, 15, 20 years younger. I said, well, I feel pretty good now. But I tell you what, I don't think that I had as much energy as I have now 20 years ago when I was 26. Now I'm 46, and I like it a lot. It's great. And one day, don't worry, you're going to get there. We're going to start Catherine on those products. When she gets to be a little older, starts moaning, groaning, carrying on, complaining, we got the cure for you. In fact, we're so pleased. Of course, her family has become involved with this, and it's just great. Friends, do it certainly for our program, but mostly do it for yourself. Call our Health Club line, 1-800-895-7916, and absolutely, you're helping the program, but you find out just how good life can be. If you feel better, everything's better. You can work harder, you feel better about everything, so do it today. For Health Club information, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your name, address, and phone number. Someone will get back to you as soon as possible. Friends, this is such a wonderful thing. Do it for yourselves today. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you're enjoying our program. As always, I'm here with my esteemed colleague, Leroy Scott, known to those on the Inner Sanctum and most of you as the judge. Absolutely. Well, sir, we've had a lot of things going on, and I want to touch on something. Yeah, I just locked the magazine in place on our Springfield M1A here. You know, this is a regular rifle. You know, Judge, this thing doesn't have a brain of its own. You know, it won't go off until it's loaded. Then you got to push the safety off. Then you got to pull the trigger.
You're telling me it won't aim itself?
Won't aim itself? Isn't that amazing? This gun could sit in one place for 100 years. 200 years. If they'd had these in the Egyptian pyramids, you know, they never would have gone off by themselves. They could have been there thousands of years, never would have gone off. There's a point here. What?
Which reminds me.
What?
Up in Idaho, my son-in-law found a science fiction novel set in the Civil War times.
Yeah.
And it appeared that sometime before Chancellorsville that some hotshot salesman comes up to General Lee and offers him a new kind of rifle called an AK-47.
Well, tell you what, we might be singing a different national anthem today if that had been the case.
It would have changed the course of that war, and that's
probably
that was the story.
Probably so. Well, anyway, I'm certainly pleased of the national anthem we do sing. We're all very proud to be Americans, regardless of where we are from in this country. But the point is, these things will not aim or shoot themselves. It takes a person, just like it takes a person to drive a car. A car won't drive itself. And, you know, this week, as we understand the news that came to us across a couple of the radio shows, the President of the United States, one William, whatever his middle name is, Clinton, old Slick himself, went over to Bosnia. And the military people that came to see him speak, all the military people, one, they removed the magazines from all their M16s, and they made these soldiers, American soldiers, take the bolts out of those guns because they were so afraid that somebody in the military might take a pot shot, apparently, at Clinton. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can believe it, and I sure hope nobody does that because he'd be a martyr then. And
we want him to be healthy until we can defeat him in the election. I mean, we don't want anything to happen to any of our leaders, of course. We
want those first two boxes to work.
On the
soapbox and the ballot box.
The soapbox and the ballot box, absolutely. But, you know, to me, that was so unbelievable that they would take literally. When you don't trust your own people, Judge, and you know that's what this is all about. That's what these magazine-fed rifles, the efforts they're making to get these away from us. Anything that goes bang, because the socialists do not trust us, our own people, the American people. These people know that a lot of the things they're doing are not only not popular to the American people,
But a lot of the American people are simply not going to tolerate some of the things happening. So, yeah, they have to get these away from us. They have to before they can ever succeed.
Well, let's take a look at the presidential hopefuls. I have the NRA fax alert, and they're talking about gun control and the presidential candidates. They said that Republican hopefuls Pat Buchanan, Charles Collins, Maury Taylor, and Phil Graham squared off at a forum in Manchester, New Hampshire. It was sponsored by the NRA-affiliated gun owners of New Hampshire, and all four staked out strong pro-gun positions. They all vowed to seek repeal of Brady and the Clinton gun ban, and Steve Forbes' campaign confirmed this week that Mr. Forbes likewise supports the Second Amendment, backs the repeal of the Clinton gun and magazine ban, favors instant background checks as the alternative to waiting periods. I'm a little queasy about that one, but but listen to this. While his fellow Republican candidates were pledging their support for our right to keep and bear arms, Senator Richard Lugar, the Republican of Indiana, was crowing about his support for the Clinton gun and magazine ban. That ought to fix Senator Lugar up with most of the viewers of this program.
Well, his view's been goofy he's been a nut for a long time, hasn't he? Lugar's been way out.
Lugar tried to get the vice presidential nomination when Reagan was elected, when Reagan was first nominated. Mm-hmm. And that's when he chose George Bush.
Well, that's certainly just my opinion, but certainly in my opinion, anybody who wants to support these gun bans, they need to have their head examined. In my opinion, I just think that's ridiculous.
You know what a canned hunt is?
A canned hunt?
Yeah.
No.
Well, there's a lot of confusion about that. The anti-hunters are pushing House Resolution 1202, which is a pro-animal rights bill mislabeled as a ban on canned hunts. This is where exotic animals are brought to game refuges or game preserves,
right? And
people for a mostly an exorbitant fee can go in there and get their trophy.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, there are several ranches around the country that do have exotic game animals, but they're managed, I'm aware of these legitimate hunts that I'm aware of.
Well, actually, the bill seeks to limit canned hunts to reservations that are more than 1,200 acres.
1,200 acres is a lot of land, Judge.
I believe it's 1,000 acres.
Still.
Well, if you're going to pin up some exotic game animals, their view, and it's incidentally the NRA was supporting that, to have it for more than 1,000 acres. 1,000 acres is not all that much land. It's pretty good amount of land in Louisiana.
Well, I think so.
Try Montana.
Well, they got plenty of land in Montana, not quite as many people, I guess. Well, what's your espousement on this particular bill?
My view is that these animal rights people that want to talk about canned hunts and so forth, they really want to protect animal rights. Let them go to the nearest slaughterhouse and find out what happens.
Well, that's true. Every time they put on a pair of leather shoes and all, I think these people have lost perspective. They want to equate animals with people. Am I correct on that?
Well, I don't know if they want to equate animals with people, and I don't know what their actual inner cranial thoughts are. Of course, you've been out to my house. We got a couple of animals that are equated with people.
Well, I understand that. You got a couple you're very close to, and I have some too at mine. But these people want to do away with and ban all hunting, essentially.
Well, that's what the NRA says that the animal rights people are doing, that they're trying to get their foot in the door.
Right.
Or the camel trying to get his head in the tent to ban, as a first step toward banning all hunting.
Carrie, I think it's as important for you ladies to know how to use these firearms as it is for us men. But there's something else. We can have firearms for defense of our homes and certainly for sport, but we also need information.
Yes, I agree. I think the New American Magazine is the best source of information available in this country.
Well, I would certainly agree. The New American Magazine is the truth and nothing but the truth. And friends, if you would like to know what is really going on in this country and around the world, if you want, in fact, the truth, well, you need to get the New American Magazine. So here's how to do it. You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE, and those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month. Now, friends, with your new Shootin' Show subscription, they will also send you a free copy of what the United Nations is bringing to all of us. So this is very important. Subscribe today. You know, friends, in times like these, which indeed are strange times, we certainly need our firearms, but we also need the information about what's really going on. Order today.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one. Corbin is the best there is.
Now, as you know, Johnny, I don't care personally. I don't care much about hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a little hunting. I've hunted birds. I've hunted ducks. I've hunted. I can't recall ever being deer hunting, but I have tasted venison. I don't like venison as much as I do beef. I can tell you that for sure. I've had elk.
Elk's pretty good.
Elk's not bad. Not bad.
Well, but what you're saying is, even though you're not a hunter, you're not about to press for restrictions on people that do like to hunt.
Simple reason. Simple reason.
Mm-hmm.
I need their support.
Absolutely.
I need their support in the effort to preserve the right to keep and bear arms. If we were to lose the support of the hunters, we'd be in bad shape.
Well, and true, it's a proven fact that in many types of game, certainly the white-tailed deer, and some others, if there's not hunting, literally you'll be overrun with those animals.
Well, that's true, Johnny. There is one thing about it that bothers me a little bit. In hunting, the hunters always take the trophy animals, the biggest, the strongest, the best. And the survival of the fittest is just the other way around.
Well, Judge, you know, from one who's been on some deer hunts, I'm not sure that, I tell you what, for those of us who have been out there in a deer stand, I'm not so sure that that just because we have a gun and we're out there in camouflage and all this other stuff, we have much of an advantage on those deer. Trust me.
Everybody to his own cup of tea, Johnny. I need the support of the hunters, so I support them. Look at the states. We've got all sorts of information in here from various states. Arizona seeking to get shooting range protection legislation. Indiana, Minnesota, Washington. If you people are not on the NRA fax network, all you have to do is to ask them for it. Telephone number 1-800. And get this, I can't repeat it many times. 392-8683. That's the NRA fax network. And just as good a fax network, in some respects better, is the Gun Owners of America fax network, and it is superb, and I don't have their 800 number right now.
But they are terrific.
Well, we saw them at the SHOT Show, and they were signing up people. All you had to do was to sign on a list that we'd like to be on the fax network, and you get weekly or semi-weekly or whenever something comes out, you get it on the fax and you get it right away.
Right.
And considering what the newspapers do or don't do, it may be the only way you're going to get certain information. Anyhow, those fax networks are available to you. We're still plugging the Gun Owners of America, telling you that they're a wonderful outfit. Same thing for the NRA, second but good. Second Amendment Foundation is there. They're all fighting the same people, and I think all of them need our support. I suggested to you last week that you send $20, save it out $1 a week for a while, and send it to the Gun Owners of America for their election pool, their
Over their war chest, for the political action war chest, because they will spend it.
Well, just think, Johnny, you say we get to 30 million households a week.
Yep, if not more than that.
And there are more than one person in each household, probably. Sometimes maybe one of them doesn't want to watch this and the other one does. But
well, I ought to.
But if 10% of you, that's 3 million, which is in $20 apiece, that's $60 million. And $60 million in the right places would influence at least 100 elections. And 100 elections would change the course of this civilization in the House of Representatives and the Senate. I'd be glad to do it, but I'm not that wealthy.
$60 million is just what? Go ahead.
I will send in my $20. In fact, I've already done that. I gave more than $20, incidentally. Well, we have an NRA Research and Information Division that's given us a lot of information. I've got more here than I can give you today. Violent crime rate has been dropping 4.1% from 93 to 94, 1.5% from 92 to 93. The press has given you a terrible impression that violent crime is runaway inflation, and it's not. The Violent Crime Commission rate among juveniles is increasing. Violent crime, homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, 1,864,000 violent crimes. The rate is 716 per 100,000, I guess it is. Firearms were used in 552,000, which is 29% of the total. Knives in 265,000, which is 14% of the total. Fists, feet, and personal weapons in about 606,000, which is 33%. That's more than firearms. Maybe we need to register bricks.
Yeah, need to register bricks and fists and toenails and fingernails and whatever else people can hurt other people with. See,
of course, that doesn't include people pushed off the top of a building and nobody knows that's what happened.
That's true. Nobody. You know, I mean, there are all kinds of things that people do to each other. But like you said, it's actually going down. Crime has actually gone down some.
102,000 cases of rape, down 4.6%. This is based on the Bureau of Justice statistics and is a refutation of the Brady's position that these things are increasing and that they are getting worse and worse and worse.
Well, wouldn't you agree that the new concealed carry laws around the country are contributing to the drop in crime?
Well, Johnny, I think that is just as good an argument. Is just as good an argument as as any other. The Brady can't claim it.
Oh, certainly not.
In fact, the Brady proponents changed these figures around to the point where it looked like crime was increasing rather than decreasing. Anyhow, That's another statistical result that the National Rifle Association Institute for Legislative Action has dug up for us and sent to us. This was available at the SHOT Show. It'll be available to you if you're a member of the NRA, or if you just write them and ask them for it, or call them on telephone and ask them for it.
Well, you know, Judge, you can go to any prison you want to and go in there and ask one of those people put in who's robbed somebody or raped some woman, and ask them, well, would they have done it if somebody had a gun and could have defended them? And I'll guarantee you they'll say no. They only pick on people that couldn't hurt them.
Well, that's the reason why tourists in Florida
That's right.
were the ones that were being picked on.
That's right. Because they knew that tourists would not have firearms. They got off airplanes, were in rented cars. They knew they wouldn't have guns.
Well, you know, somebody told me today, or yesterday, that Florida did not require a residency for a concealed carry permit.
I don't know. One of our viewers in Florida, if you would, call us or fax us or something and let us know about that. We can find out. We have a tremendous number of people that watch us in Florida.
Well, in Idaho, you need a concealed carry permit. It's issued by your local sheriff. It's good statewide. But that's because in Idaho, carrying a gun in your automobile is carrying a concealed weapon.
Mm-hmm.
In Louisiana, that's not true. You stick it under the seat of your car, it's not concealed because it's not concealed on your person. That's what our Constitution says. In Idaho, it is. It is concealment. So, incidentally, NRA has a breakdown by state of the gun laws in every state. And if you have particular questions about them, you can call NRA. And incidentally, here's a number, 1-800-392-8683. 800-392-8683. You ask for the research division.
Mm-hmm.
They've got all that information already printed. All they have to do is stick it in an envelope and mail it to you.
All right, sir. Good presentation, sir. Well, friends.
This weekend.
This weekend. What?
Going to be after this show is aired. The Republican convention has been held in New Orleans to pick a Senate candidate. We have two candidates. State Representative Hayes from Acadiana,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a national representative. He's in Congress.
Right.
And the other one is State Representative Woody Jenkins from the Baton Rouge area.
Whom we had on the show a couple of weeks ago.
I don't know Jimmy Hayes, but I do know Woody Jenkins, and I know him well. And I cannot recommend him too highly. If you live in Louisiana, well, it's too late to urge you to do it here. I've already urged you to do it on previous stations. Maybe next week, because I'm going to that convention, maybe next week I can tell you who has received the Republican endorsement.
All right, sir. You know, folks, stay tuned. You know, we've got a lot of work to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the Tri-Tote on our program here, and I tell you what, my assistant here, Catherine, is not that large a stature person, but here she is. Take a look. She is modeling an M1A in her Tri-Tote, and that is so neat. Catherine, turn around there for the folks, please, ma'am. Yeah, that's good. That is really, I tell you what, it will fit all kinds of sizes of different people. Catherine, I'm impressed. She watched the tape, and she says, I can figure this out, and she put it on, and of course, the M1A is a little larger gun that she normally carries around, but the Tri-Tote is really a terrific outfit there. It is such, if you're going to walk around with a gun for an extended period, it's probably the best thing I've ever seen to carry a gun or a bow. You know, turkey season's coming up, and a lot of us will be carrying shotguns through the woods on long walks, and especially if you're carrying other things to your stand. You can also carry your gun around your back. You can turn it around. It's really a very nice item that is for sale. And you know what, folks? Every time you call the Tri-Tote Company, you're helping the shooting show stay on the air, because they have really been a loyal sponsor. We do appreciate them. They build a terrific product at a fair price. In fact, their sales have been so good. It's actually you can buy one this year cheaper than you could last year because they're in mass production. So that's Catherine in the M1A in her Tri-Tote.
Get your hands off that gun, bow, or fishing rod. Holding onto your equipment while you're going through the woods or climbing a hill is fatiguing and possibly dangerous. The versatile Tri-Tote all-season carrier is easy to use. You never have to drill a hole in your fine gun stock. And the Tri-Tote can be set up for your specific needs in a jiffy. Just follow the illustrated instructions and free demo video enclosed. There you are, hands-free, yet ready to shoot in an instant. Hunting and fishing have never been more enjoyable. With Tri-Tote, your equipment is secure and your hands are free to support yourself or carry other gear. How did you ever get along without Tri-Tote? Make this year's hunting and fishing the best ever. To order your Tri-Tote at this special TV price, call toll-free 1-800-231-1443. That's 1-800-231-1443.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
Friends, here's something we thought you might like to look at. This is in the Smith & Wesson calendar that they presented us with out in Dallas. And let me tell you about these guns you're looking at. Joseph Wesson in 1882, that's D.B. Wesson's youngest son, began development of a new type of self-cocking revolver. Joe Wesson felt the market would welcome a new style of pocket revolver that concealed the hammer inside the frame. The advantage of this type of revolver is that it can be carried in a pocket without the hammer catching on clothing. Furthermore, if a quick shot became necessary, the revolver could be fired while still in the pocket. The hammerless design sustained many improvements until it was finalized in 1886. Production of the hammerless models began in 1887. The factory officially called the revolver the new departure to illustrate that this double-action revolver was indeed a departure from the conventional double-action that Smith & Wesson had been producing since 1880. The factory announced that this new model would be produced in 32 S&W, 38 Smith & Wesson, and 44 Smith & Wesson Russian cartridge. But when the practical aspects were examined, only the 32 and 38 calibers were actually produced. The 44 hammerless on the top of this month's collection is a double trigger design. When the lower trigger rotates the cylinder and cocks the hammer, the upper trigger releases the hammer with very light trigger pressure. We thought you might find this interesting.
Well, friends, let me tell you what, this is a Pro Timer 3 from the good folks at Competition Electronics. And we've been using this for, I don't know, a couple of years. It has yet to give us any difficulty. It works all the time. We also have one of their chronographs that is a very, very fine piece of equipment. So let me put in a plug for them. Competition Electronics is a very fine outfit. They make some excellent equipment. If certainly you happen to come across some of their stuff, well, I'd sure take a look at it. Anyway, a timer is very important because, one, it will tell you your time in shooting. And we're going to go ahead and hang this here on my pants pocket. And we get or talk to a tremendous number of people about what is a better gun, a revolver, or a semi-automatic. All right, there are places for both of these guns. I certainly recommend a revolver for the new shooter, and a good part of the time I carry one myself, although I like semi-automatics, in particular the 1911s, because I like the way they work. I think this is the high watermark of semi-automatic design, certainly up to today. But there are some things some differences in these guns, and the largest advantage that I can imagine that a revolver would have over semi-automatic would be this one, and that is in the event of a bad cartridge. Now, both of these guns can malfunction. Any firearm, like any other mechanical device, can and will on occasion malfunction. I mean, it does happen. We've managed to jam every known action type out here on the farm during the course of this program. But here's what the point we want to make for today. One, let's take our cartridge out of the barrel here on our 1911. And yes, I do like semi-automatics, and at some point in the not-too-distant future, we plan to offer a shooting show model of a 1911. We'll talk more about that later on. Go ahead and put our magazine in. But let's say that we're in a life and death self-defense situation. Now, typically, when you need a handgun, you need it real bad. And this is so critical because literally seconds or parts of a second could mean the difference in life and death. And Bill Jordan, who probably knows more about firearms than most people living today, leans very heavily toward the revolver as a defensive weapon. And here's his argument. He says, well, if you are facing someone, let's say you're in a robbery attempt, you're defending your home, and both of you, you have a semi-automatic, your opponent has a revolver. Both of you get a bad round, get a round that does not fire in your gun. Okay, all the person with a revolver has to do is just pull the trigger again, and he's going to get a bullet up that'll work. On the semi-automatic, it's going to take a while to get it back in operation, so you're in big trouble if you're the one with semi-automatic and a bad cartridge, and your opponent has the revolver and he had a bad cartridge. So that's the sort of point they're making. I think the more experienced people, there are some things that semi-automatics do better than revolvers, one of which is they will stand mud. If you drop one of these guns in the sand, a semi-automatic, they're much easier to take apart and clean than a revolver. However, that's one of the places that you might have an advantage there. Another, of course, the semi-automatic can be reloaded quicker. They will hold more shots. Of course, now Smith & Wesson and Taurus are making 7-shot 357s, and also Taurus is gone now. They have an 8-shot 357. But I'm really not that concerned about numbers of rounds. As long as you've got 4, 5, 6 rounds with any combat type handgun, I think you're in pretty good shape. Let's run a little experiment here. We have our pro timer, and the timer, I'm going to fire on this target, except I'm going to have a malfunction. And let's see the amount of time it takes me to get off a shot after I have or clear the malfunction. Let's see what it is. Let's see how much difference there is between the semi-automatic and the revolver. And we're pretty close here. But the shot, when I get the gun to go off, the shot will stop the timer. So we're going to get in firing position, and we're going to have a malfunction. And then we'll get the gun running again, and it'll stop on that shot. So let's see what happens. Go ahead and punch the timer, get in position. Okay, it took me 1.49 seconds to get the gun running after I had a malfunction. I had a click instead of a bang. 1.49 seconds, including my reaction time. Now then, we'll take a shell out of our revolver here, so we know we're going to get a malfunction. Same drill. 1.49 seconds, roughly a second and a half, counting my reaction time there from the timer. Same drill. Let's try the same thing again with the revolver. Remember that figure, 1.49. In firing position. All right, 0.61 seconds. So after that first click, simple thing, just pull the trigger again. Well, that's almost a second. It's only 61 hundredths of a second versus a second and a half. And I tell you what, friends, in a life and death situation, a second can be a long time. Heck, a fairly good shooter can shoot 3, 4, 5 times in a second. So you're in major trouble. You better be doing some evasive action while you're getting your gun unjammed, if at all possible. Yes, the revolvers will malfunction too, but it's a much, much less likelihood, especially if one of these guns is stored for long periods of time, than the semi-automatics. And like I said, if somebody's shooting at you or trying to stab you, a second can be an eternity. In fact, it could help send you on your way to eternity. A lot of these police departments that are going to semi-automatics, I think, should re-examine. There are some very fine semi-automatics out there, but I'm not sure their training is up to what it would need to be. I think the semi-automatics might be the greatest backup gun that ever happened, but for my own use in a real serious situation, and certainly when I have been in some tight spots, well, I prefer to reach for the revolver as my first gun. Just a little illustration there. Take it for what it's worth. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the Confederate Memorial here at the Dallas Convention Center. And this was erected by the Daughters of the Confederacy, Dallas chapter number 6, June 25th, 1896. And it is interesting that today you don't see many things in commemoration or in honor of the Confederacy because it's politically incorrect. A lot of very fine people on both sides, the Union and the South, gave their lives in a struggle that we think deserves quite a bit of honor and respect. It had the issue of states' rights, and that battle is still going on today, even as we speak, in the United States Congress and the United States news media and conversations all over. Well, friends, you'll recognize this fine gentleman right here. This is none other than Larry Pratt himself, the real Larry Pratt of Gun Owners of America.
Johnny, it's good to be with you.
And unequivocally, I'm going to say, in our estimation and opinion, the finest gun owners organization that I'm aware of today. Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate your support, Johnny. You've been really terrific.
Well, we appreciate that, Larry. Had a good show?
It's been a good show. We've met a lot of people, got a lot of things done. It's a good place to be to get business done.
Well, I tell you what, it's good you could get here. You had a little snow up there in Virginia, didn't you?
I had a neighbor take me out in a tall 4x4 to get over all the snow drifts.
Well, I tell you, we have a lot of work. It's not just the snow. We've got some problems over across the river there in Washington, don't we?
Well, they have a snow job all the time going on over there.
There's a reason, you know, they call it foggy bottom.
That's right.
Yes, there really is.
That's right. When it gets warm, all that fog comes up from the snow.
Look, friends, this is such a great organization, Gun Owners of America. They not only talk about stuff, they get stuff done. And Larry and his staff are absolutely terrific people. And we would very much encourage, if you're going to join, if you have money to spend to join a gun owners organization, well, Gun Owners of America will probably give you the most bang for your buck, probably.
We sure hope so.
I think so. What's your phone number, Larry?
We are 1-800-417-1486. 417-1486 or One Gun.
Well, yes, sir. You were going to say something before I interrupted you, asking you for your phone number. What?
No, only that if people want to think about us, they need to think in terms of what we do and what we don't do. We are exclusively a Second Amendment lobby organization with our focus on what the Constitution is all about. The message the founders had, we think, is still a message for today, that the government needs to be kept under control, and one of the ways they thought that had to be done was an armed populace. And that's the message we take to whether it's Charles Schumer or Jesse Helms. We tell them the same thing.
Yes, sir, buddy.
And if you join Gun Owners of America, that's the information you'll be the message that you'll be supporting getting out. And one other thing I believe that is very important to know about us, we believe that what the late Senator Everett Dirksen used to say is absolutely correct about politicians. When I feel the heat, I see the light. And we help our members help their congressmen see the light, so that you can send postcards and phone calls and fax numbers. We supply all that so that you can stay on them like a coat of paint and make sure they feel the heat.
And friends, that is, you know, that's what it's going to take. And of course, the judge quotes them just about every week on their fax lines. So, Larry, we appreciate the job you're doing. Good to see you again.
It's good to see you, and we appreciate the job you're doing, Johnny.
Well,
Keep it up.
That. Let's do it. Stay tuned.